In just 10 days from now, on the 10th of February 2020, the best indie title of 2020 so far is going to be released on Steam. Hello, I'm SimUK and this is Offroad Mania. Offroad Mania is developed and published by Active Games. Now, I've tried to research these guys and it seems that this might very well be their first ever release. I don't know how many people are in their team. I'm guessing just a handful at the moment, but what Offroad Mania offers is realistic physics, mind-bendingly difficult terrains and superbly modelled vehicles and suspension mechanics. At release, the game will offer 120 progressively more challenging levels, 4 brilliantly modelled 4x4 vehicles, each of which behave and handle slightly differently from each other, some more so than others, and you can customise your truck and all of its fittings and even change up your Stig-like driver if you want. At least you can change the colour configurations of those things. This low-poly HTML5 compatible title delightfully offers a very realistic off-road driving experience with all of the complexity that such driving would offer. You will have to be patient, careful and bold if you want to complete each level, and sometimes the easiest part is actually the hardest. I think that Offroad Mania is fantastic. I really love the physics. I love the fact that there is a first-person view, and just the whole low-poly art style is one that I really do like and appreciate. I don't have an official price for this game right now, but if I were to price this game based on what I have experienced so far, I would have to say that a price tag anywhere between £5 to £10 would be acceptable, £5 being an absolute steal. But that is not the end of the review, because I think that Offroad Mania actually offers a fantastic foundation, and I can see a wonderful future for this game if they price it fairly now. The game does have some issues, or rather, it has some limitations that need to be addressed. And as I have been asked to review the game, that is exactly what I have done. I want to highlight some serious issues, make some suggestions, and then paint a picture of where I think Offroad Mania could potentially go in the future. So the biggest and most significant issue in the game relates to key binding and camera. At present, the default configuration in the game means that accelerate is the A button and brake is the X button, and it works just fine. It takes some getting used to, but it works perfectly well. However, I would much prefer to have R1 as my accelerator and L1 as my brake. Not just because that is the traditional norm, but because I actually want to have greater control over my brakes and my accelerator. And a digital button input can simply not offer you that. You have to instead sort of feather the brake and accelerator, and that detracts, I think, from the physics that are available in this game. And I also kind of dislike the default button configuration for zooming the camera. I would like to be able to reverse the axis of the camera's vertical movement as well, and none of this is currently implemented. Now, it's not an absolute game breaker, but it is a problem. However, the biggest issue, and this actually is an issue if you're going to be using a controller, is not being able to apply a dead zone to my Xbox controller. This meant that the camera was always moving slightly in one of many directions, and it makes things very difficult and it's incredibly frustrating. With a little bit of playing around, I did discover that I could kind of lock the camera still, and I did this by reducing camera movement speed to 0. So whilst this did help, it also took away my ability to actually look around. And in this game, that's kind of imperative. Now, the developers got a good 10 days before this game actually releases, so it's very possible that these changes I'm recommending here could be implemented for release, and I think if they were, that would greatly benefit the game and cause you a lot less headaches as a developer, because people are going to complain about this. I am absolutely sure of it. Unfortunately, I have to say that I cannot get to my wheel at the moment, so I couldn't test if a wheel and pedals would work in this game. My instincts tell me, and I heavily suspect, that it wouldn't work. Hopefully the developer can confirm or deny that in the comments perhaps, or maybe put a comment on Steam or something like that. So I don't know if you can use a wheel and pedals on this game, but I suspect that isn't going to be possible. Not easily, at least. So I have a few suggestions to improve the game in the near future, and I also have some wish list ideas that I would like to see in the future development for this game. But the suggestions I'm about to make now I feel should be considered by the developer, because they'll add more value to what is otherwise an excellent game. And I really do feel this game is excellent fun to play. So my first suggestion would be to add multiple fixed camera angles. For example, one by the front wheel, one overhead, one looking backwards perhaps, and if you can cycle through these, it would offer much greater visual understanding of the terrain around you whilst you're driving. I also noticed that there's no timer in the game. Now, okay, I understand that rushing is not necessarily the objective of this game, but in order to offer players more replayability, I think if you added a timer element, and then there's something to come back and play again and try and do better. The key binding option and the dead zone option are absolutely critical, and I know I've already mentioned this, but it's so important. Without adding these two features, I think this game is going to get a lot of negative feedback. Rightly so, but undeserving of what the game really should be getting. It's a great game, it should be getting massive thumbs up, and the lack of key binding options and the dead zone issue are going to cause people problems, so I really hope the developer listens and does something about that. I also think a slight tweak to the physics so that you can allow us to right the car if we happen to get it on its side. Now, there are circumstances where in real life, and I mean to do this in a realistic manner, not in a fake way, not press the button and right the car up. It kind of feels like the physics right now don't allow it, even though if I put that car in the same situation in real life, I'm pretty sure I could get that to flip back up onto its wheels. Now at the moment, and I tried for a good couple of minutes, I don't think that's possible in the game, and a slight tweak to the physics might help in that regard. Going back to the key binding and dead zone issues, I also think that adding some sort of sensitivity dampener might be a good idea, because at some points I felt like the steering was a bit too aggressive. A slight adjustment of the wheels I found at times was difficult. Now this didn't happen before I calibrated my controller, so maybe that's a calibration issue my end, so just bear that in mind. And also finally, something I'd like to see at release, if possible, is the ability to retain your previous camera position. So when I zoom all the way out and I get a nice camera position that I'm happy with for driving, I'd like to see that retained when I start the new level. At the moment it resets to the default and then I have to go through that whole thing again. There's 120 levels. I don't want to have to do that 120 times. So please take that as a consideration. Now in the future, this is why I'm so excited about this game, because the potential here, the foundation that is Offroad Mania really gets me excited, because I think with these or something like these suggestions implemented in the future, or a direction for this game to head in, this could become a really, really big game. The first one, Steam Workshop, to allow players to create their own levels, maybe even cars. That's just going to explode the game. It's never going to run out of levels. Multiplayer co-op and competitive, that could be time-based or otherwise. You could have like a sheer mountain cliff face, which is, basically impossible to get to the top, and who can get furthest. That could be a challenge as well. I'd like to see some DLC released to this game. I think it's good enough to warrant DLC releases, but rather than just having more levels like we've got already, I would love to see a massive real-world mountain climb with stages. That would be epic. This game would be brilliant for that. And if it were possible, I would like to see the introduction of mud and water, maybe a tow rope for like really steep climbs and when you get stuck and other kind of issues. That would be great. Obviously, when we're heading in a direction like this, I'm going to start thinking about wheel support, head tracking, and really to put the ice on the cake, because the foundation of this game is so good, I'd like to see damage to trucks. I'd like to see truck maintenance and truck configuration. Now, these are all pipe dream. I would love it if this game evolved into this wonderful simulation-esque type experience, but I think it's really good. I think the physics foundations and the modeling and the suspension and everything is so good that this is all possible in the future, or potentially possible in the future. So overall, I'd say this is a superb title with great physics and level design. The gameplay is raw, yet it's rewarding and it's completely Moorish. I just cannot get enough of this game right now. I hope the developers listen to my feedback. I hope they resolve the two serious issues that I mentioned, and that they continue to develop on this amazing game. I have uploaded some first look gameplay footage over on SimUK Let's Play, so please go and check that out if you want to see more. Hit the like button here, subscribe if you haven't. Help us, support us as a channel by joining our Discord maybe. If you've got a couple of quid spare, think about sending it our way so that we can continue reviewing excellent games just like this one. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves until next time. Goodbye for now.